Yeah, welcome back, and hopefully you've had a good week this week. I guess we'll talk for about 2 hours. I'll try and get people out a little bit earlier, see how many questions you've got at the end. But let's get stuck into it. So traditionally, you start this thing by saying, here's my experience, here's the wonderful things I've done in business, and that's why you should listen to me for the next 2 hours. That's kind of how these talks are supposed to happen. There's kind of a script at the start that says, impress people so they listen to you. I'm going to tell you to do the same thing that I tell everybody who comes on any program with me, which is, there's no special reason why you should listen to me more than anyone else. If you're starting a business, you should just be listening for ideas from anyone. Even bigots, and there's a lot of them around, really dumb ones, occasionally have good ideas. And I sometimes speak to CEOs. In fact, quite recently I spoke to a CEO who worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, who's coming down to be a business advisor, and a bit like you're doing tomorrow, he was watching all these pictures. And afterwards we went out to judge them. And my God, this guy did not know a single thing about business. It was incredible the things he was coming out with. So I'll tell you a bit about my background, just so you can kind of frame some of my comments. But with anything I'm saying, like, listen to it, and you're starting a business, you can make your own decisions. So use them, don't use them, it's fine. My background, what I do is I run something called Strive. At Strive, we try to be the nicest place to start something. There's lots of places where you can go to start the biggest empire, or there's places you can start the most serious business or the coolest business, and I run projects where we just try and help people to start nice local businesses. Some of those local businesses have grown and gone on and been successful in a kind of big way, but at Strive it's much more about starting a business to get what you want out of the business. And for some people that's that 4-hour week dream, it's flexibility. For some people it's wealth. For some people, actually they're really lonely. They just want to start a business to connect with other people. So that's what we do at Strive. We've done it with loads of people, so many people. I've just started putting question marks at the end. It's 5,000 and some, and it might be 6,000 now. I've got bored of counting, but a lot of people. And it's really exciting on this program to start a business, look at starting a business and pitching tomorrow for some money to make it happen, because it does change lives. I'm not a big believer in business is good. Business can be good, it can be bad, but I have definitely seen it do some incredible things for some of the people that I've worked with. So that's where I come at everything from. I come at it from a very cuddly, touchy-feely, we're out there to help people. The business that I run, it's a non-profit. So it's debatable if it's really a business, because we're not in it to make a profit, we're in it just to help the community. My background before setting this thing up, I've done this for about 10 years. Before setting this up, I used to run a marketing business. I don't know if anyone, we're in a sort of design type place. Has people heard of a program called AutoCAD? Okay, so if you're in design, it's like those like 3D, it's like Photoshop, if you've heard of Photoshop, but for 3D design, or at least it was for about 40 years. Before I started my marketing company, I worked for the founder of that, who had an awful lot of money to plow into his next project, which was an environmental building company, which was light years ahead of its time. We did this in about 2000. We were way too early, so he spent about £4 million not starting a business. It was incredible to watch. So that's my background, basically. I've worked in a few startups. I've started my own marketing company. I should probably mention that was in Africa, not in the UK. And yeah, now I help other people to start businesses too, having seen kind of how to do it well and how to do it badly. So you lot, why are you here? I know you're pitching tomorrow, so I'm not going to ask for anything too massive, and we're out from Evan, if he's still tuning in, to contribute as well. But just so I get a flavour, we're going to talk about pricing today, but pricing, I don't know, a birthday cake is a bit different to pricing a Lamborghini. So just so I get a sense of what it is we're looking to do. Yeah, who are you? Why did you bother to come to talk on pricing? What are you trying to start? So,
I am Adam. I'm studying photography as a master's, and with my undergraduate journalism degree, I'm trying to combine the two to go into have applied to the Discover funding to get a drone, because I'd like to specialise in the drone photography, or at least you go into that as one of the avenues, because if everyone can take photos, then why don't we get it? So I'm looking at the qualifications that I need to do for that, and the equipment and the qualifications are all round about the high hundreds or low thousands, and so that is the area that I'm looking in that. And the other aspect I'd like to bring into it is to be able to work remotely, so to be able to have a camper van or some sort of mobile phone device that I can allow me to travel more. I'm going to Norway on the study abroad semester, so I'm starting to do visas and insurance and cars and health and travel and all this sort of type of stuff to be able to travel abroad. If that is an opportunity post graduation. So that's where I'm sort of going in with the knowledge that I'm bringing from my degrees and the type of stuff that I want to be able to provide for our clients, or for my own interest, or to work freelance. Basically so that I don't have to have an awful lot of upkeep for everything. Most of my attention and resources go into what I'm trying to do, as opposed to just maintaining things. Like a flat or just on.
Yeah, I lived nomadically for 9 years now. 6 years on a boat and a few years in Spain and other places. But before we could dive into that for hours. So let me just say on the drone thing, I helped a guy in Wokingham start a drone business. And before I forget, because I will forget, I've got a memory of a fish, don't skimp on the batteries. We got this guy launched, and he bought some sort of Alibaba, Amazon unbranded batteries. Got his prized possession drone up. He was doing aerial photography of sort of big estates and stuff, kind of mansions, kind of fly-through mansions and stuff, and charging a pretty penny for it. And literally his first job, he took it up onto the top of the mansion, and the batteries died, and it just went. And the battery kind of indicator just wasn't working because he hadn't bought the kind of branded batteries. So before I forget,
Batteries.
Yeah, they say only use our batteries. They mean it. Anyway, let's go on.
So I'm going to start the social media marketing agency that we spoke about. And I want to keep it quite focused around small businesses, at the very least starting up in the first year or so, if I say scale up. But the reason why we came to this one is because in terms of pricing, I don't know the best way to, how much to charge for these small businesses. Obviously their budgets are lower. The reason I'm going after those rather than medium to large size enterprises, because all these big companies have a budget for marketing, so they go after these big agencies that do it. The small ones don't, so I don't want to overcharge. I'll charge more than they can handle. Even if it does show results and it's worth it, they don't always have that capital to just invest in like an agency to do it for them, especially because I want to have clients on retainers rather than just one-off. Big, consistent money in, so it's pricing for that and retainers. You see some people saying charge no less than like 2,500 a month for this, and then it's saying make sure you charge like 400 for this, depending on what you do. So it's just different service packages I want to offer. Pricing those for one-offs and pricing those for retainers for different size.
Ben, you can go home. You've got it all answered. I'm going to have packages. I'm going to have one-offs. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. I mean, it sounds like a plan.
There's no numbers.
All right, we'll see if I can throw anything extra into the mix. But yeah, it sounds like that's a very sensible. All of that sounds very sensible. But yeah, we'll see if I can add anything to help. But yeah.
I want to create an AI, a blockchain-based subsystem, and how I would price it probably would be licenses. And yeah, it's kind of there.
Okay. Yeah, my best friend growing up, or my best friend now, I shouldn't say that, it sounds like we're falling out, but he's working in the Ethereum blockchain. So yeah, I've had a lot of conversations about blockchain, so maybe we can dive into quite exactly what so you can do a bit more elaborate. What about you?
Myself, Umesh. I'm looking for the opportunity to connect international platforms like companies who are looking for the agri-biolence and valuable micronutrients for the agricultural field.
Okay.
And looking for and to develop an enterprise and hosting them like services-based company, which will not involve a lot of money to invest and connect two different big giant companies
for.
Nice. Okay. The middleman always gets rich. Yeah, it's interesting actually. We've done a few projects in New York. There's quite a good sciencey vibe in New York. There's lots of towns you go to, they go, oh yeah, we're good at science. And then you turn up and nobody's starting science-related businesses. But actually, there is a bit of a community of it here, which is good to see. Mevin, you might be grabbing a cup of tea, but if not, do you want to unmute and tell us what you're up to? It's one of those eerie moments where we find out Mevin's just not.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. First of all, like apologies for any because I'm using my mobile phone, so I don't know whether the audio quality is really great.
No, we can hear you. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
All right, awesome. So yeah, hi. My name is Mevan. I'm a London campus student, so doing my MBA, and I'm originally from Sri Lanka. So my idea is basically to give a service. It's a buyer and a seller protection service where, see, there are different sellers in the UK advertising different high value items. So my service would offer like a buyer and seller protection service. Like we'll be the middle person in to facilitate the business, the transaction basically. So there are like some sellers could be like scammers. I mean, it's hard to like know who exactly, like how valid the seller is. So on behalf of the buyer, we will go and check the item or the product and also the seller, and we can give a recommendation to the buyer. So for that service, we will charge a small fee. So that was my idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Right up to the small fee. Why not a huge, stonking, enormous?
Yeah,
Right,
basically depending on the value of the item. Let's say if
yeah, no, it's
it's a car,
interesting.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
no, I think that makes perfect sense. And just last night,
Yeah.
me and the girlfriend, we decided, right, look at all this weather. We like to do water sports, but we can't surf where we live at the moment.
Yeah.
Let's just go buy 2 paddleboards, right? Let's just do it tonight. Like, let's not faff around. Let's just get it done. We sat down. An hour later, we were looking at this kind of deal that was too good to be true. Going,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And it's really easy to then get stuck in a loop of not really knowing, should you do it, shouldn't you do it, do you trust the company? So yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And so let's say if the buyer is from a different country, so he physically like has to kind of hop on a plane and come to UK and see the seller, or else like he'll sometimes not buy from that seller because he really can't trust the seller, or like it's impossible to reach the seller. Or even inside the UK, if the buyer and the seller are like kind of far apart,
Mm-hmm.
the buyer really like if he doesn't have the time, or if the distance is too long, he'll be put off by buying that item. So it's good for the seller as well. The seller also gets some like credibility, and also he can sell his item fast.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it sounds like a great idea. We're just going around the room finding out what people's ideas are. Sorry you literally just walked in. I'm going to put you straight on the spot, but why have you decided to come to a pricing chat? What's your idea? Oh, yeah, my business partner is an art collector. He had an early Damien Hirst and he sold it. When Damien Hirst was worth a bit, and he thought, this is good, I've trebled my money. I think now he could probably have bought his house for the price of that Damien Hirst. So, yeah, pricing art is particularly interesting. It's really fascinating. Right, well, we ought to crack on. So, pricing stuff. Now, quite often we do like how to charge and pricing all in sort of one piece, but fortunately this afternoon someone's coming in to do the whole like how to charge and how to invoice and how to get paid. So I don't need to talk about anything too much, but I guess I'll just put in that my price, not to the university, they're here, my price to the university is stonking amounts. But my price to all of you, if you come away from this going, actually, he said something interesting about some project that he's worked on or whatever, and you want to pick my brains about it, I am very easily bribed. Honestly, just find a decent coffee shop and about £2.50, you can an hour's worth of my time. So if I do touch on anything, feel free, the door is always open to come and chat a little bit more. Okay, so the how bit is super easy, right? And I'm sorry for the person who's coming later, they're going to tell you all the pitfalls and how to actually do it. But the how bit, you just like whack on a Shopify thing on your website, or you can walk around town now with one of these, and I've got one of these so that I can charge you later. It's the uni's paying for me to be here, but I figured maybe you feel so good you want to donate a coffee just out of niceness. So I've got one of these. So we'll see if you want to pay me any money a bit later. But let's get on to the exciting stuff, which is, okay, how much to charge? How much to charge for your art? How much to charge to vet a product for somebody in trial? I mean, wow, where do you come up with a figure for that? Now, I think this is a really, really exciting part of business. I get really animated. So I'm sorry, for the next 2 hours, it's hot and it's sticky, but I'm probably going to be dancing all over the place because it is just a subject that fascinates and excites me. People are often striving to find best price. Right? We're all in hunt of the mythical perfect price, and if I put that on my social media package, I'll be good. And it's nerve-wracking. And so what we're going to do is try and find some ways to get you closer to that perfect price. Unfortunately, the guy that taught me pricing quite a long time ago, very smart guy called Marcel, he used to be big up in Shell's marketing department, like global marketing with whatever. And he said to me, you've got to do it the wrong way first. And he's really right. So unfortunately, for the next hour or so, I'm going to show you lots of the wrong ways to come up with a price. But they all kind of help a little bit. They all kind of steer you slightly towards it. So it's not totally lost. And also, I'm going to do it kind of chronologically. We're in a university, so it feels like it would make sense that I go through all the different theories as, you know, when they came about and how people did it. And the first thing, when it comes to price, the first people we trusted with price were economists. They seemed like a good bunch of people. Is anyone studying economics here? No, never. Are you studying economics? Hopefully not. No, he said no.
No, I'm doing the MBA.
MBA, yeah. Right, so you might get 2 or 3 lessons in it, not too much. So I can be brutally honest about economists. They're frequently wrong. But for about 30 years, they had this idea. They went out and said, look, we're going to study all kinds of products. We'll start off with some simple products like petrol and rice. Like all rice is the same, basically. There's no real difference between rice. They sort of ignored basmati rice and quick cook rice and other stuff. And they said, let's go out and have a little look. And they looked at it and they said, there seems to be this thing. And maybe you've heard it. The high, sell it cheap model. This is how Tesco's got started. If you don't know the story of Tesco's, the guy behind Tesco's bought a bunch of dented and dinks and out-of-date stuff from the MOD, put it on a wheelbarrow, and this is a London market barrow, so they're quite big things, loaded it up, took it down East London and went, here, selling it cheap. He priced it so cheap, just making like a tiny fraction of a penny off a can, but they sold loads of it. All those tiny fractions of pennies added up. He was selling really, really fast, but making tiny amounts of money each time he did it. But it turned into the Tesco empire. So the economists went, well, there's definitely something in that. Then they went and had a look at people like Lamborghini and Bentley, and they went, these guys are not doing that, and they seem to be doing all right too. And so they got to this thing. This thing feels like a mathematics equation, and so the economists were really happy. They went, look, if you lower the price, more people buy. It's cheaper, more people can afford it. It seems like better value for money, but you do need to make a lot more sales to end up with the same money in your back pocket at the end of the day. Or you can go the other way and, you know, sell like Lamborghinis do, and you don't need to sell that many. But you're making a lot of money off each one, and you end up just as rich. And so, because this felt like, an equation, Sorry if you're not a mathematician, but what they did is they said, well, if it's an equation, we can plot it on a graph. And so they took the graph and they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put price along here. And we'll put how many up here. And I'm a mathematician, I did study maths, but this isn't a maths class. So I'm just going to say lots and few, and we'll not worry about the equations too much. And they said, look, actually, if you price something really cheap, let's say I'm going to sell this. This is the Intel Mac. It's a couple of years old. It cost a stupid amount of money, like 2 grand 3 years ago. The going rate for these things are about £1,000. I'm going to sell it today. In fact, I've spoken to Apple about the fact that I'm coming to speak to all of you, and they've said, look, tell you what, you get these students as a bit of a sales project to price it and see how many they can sell. If we priced it for £1, how many would we sell? I mean, loads and loads and loads and loads. I mean, we might need the police behind us going on, it's all right, it's not nicked. But we sell loads of them. I don't know about you, but I mean, I was thinking of selling it, but if they're £1, I'll buy 10. Like, I've got family I can give it to. What about if I said like 500 quid? That's half the price of the market rate. Half the price of what it is on eBay. How many do you reckon you sell? Yeah, middle, like less, right? I mean, it's a bargain, but if you don't need a computer, you're not buying one. If you haven't got 500 quid, you're not buying one. I'm definitely not buying 10. I mean, the uni pay well, but not that well, right? There's no way I'm buying 10 of these things. What about for £1,000? Same as the market rate. How much do you reckon we sell? So?
African.
Yeah. And you get the idea, right? We're getting to a graph. And this is what the economists did, and they did it for rice, and they did it for petrol, and they did it for years and years and years. And what they found out is there's a perfect point on this graph where market leaders, the biggest in the industry, the best companies, the ones making the most money, are sort of in the middle. They're trying to get this price as high as possible, whilst keeping the sales as high as possible. And actually, if you come down here, the sales like really drops off. You actually end up, this area here is basically how much money you make. And so here, you've got the biggest area. Whereas up here, yeah, you're selling loads, but it's just a thin sliver. And so they said, this is the perfect point on the curve. And everyone went, wow, equation, to get to the perfect price. These economists, they're so smart. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. This is called price elasticity, and you can find lots and lots of books on it. What you have to do is you have to do the differential of the curve. And if you can solve that, then you get to the perfect price. And in about 30 years, several hundreds of books written on this. The problem is, it just doesn't work. It doesn't always follow this curve. And more importantly, we're just guessing, right? These numbers. To actually know this number, we've got to go out and try and sell it at 560, come back and report it. To know this number, we've got to go out and sell it at 800, come back and report it. So the economists kept looking at like last year's data and telling everyone, the perfect price last year was this. Everyone went, oh, this is great, this is like science. But it doesn't help when you've just finished a piece of art. You've got the buyer stood in front of you, and they're going, oh, how much is it? And you're going, do you mind if I just go and try and run several experiments selling it at lots of different prices, come back and tell you? It doesn't work. But this is useful. Within bounds, this is sometimes true. Sometimes putting your price up does mean fewer people can afford it. Sometimes it means you'll sell less. It definitely means you don't have to sell as much to make a salary at the end of the month. But time and time again, we see this kind of get broken. I was working with a guy called Joseph. Joseph was actually a photographer. He was doing portrait photography. He'd worked for some, as a photography assistant to some celebrity kind of photographers. People who get their stuff in magazines, people who get articles written about them in magazines. And he decided he was going out on his own. So this guy's good. And he goes out there saying, look, I know what I really want to charge when I'm up in business. I want a photo shoot to be about 500-600 quid for a half day. That's what I want to charge. But I need to get my own independent portfolio built up under my name and everything else. So I'm putting a deal out there. And put the deal out there for 35 quid. Nobody bought. Put it out on social media, did all the right things. Absolutely everybody looked at this and went, nah, it's too good to be true, right? It sounds like a scam. £500 photo shoot, 35 quid. I mean, he's a middle-aged guy now. He looks a bit suspect, right? It seems a bit dodgy. Nobody stopped. Came back, talked to me, talked to a few other people, said, how about trying a higher price? How about trying like 400 quid? So he went away, had a bit of a break, put it back out 400 quid. People bought. So sometimes putting the price up seems to work. Anyone see that craze for Prime? You know the Prime drink? It's like a soft drink that went crazy just before Christmas because, I don't know, some YouTube celebrities put it out and they said, oh, one of the shops is out of stock. And so people said, oh, I'll tell you what, I'll sell it for a bit more. And this like drink that's £2.50 in Tesco's was getting sold for 20 quid. And it was crazy. I mean, it tastes horrible. But this weird cycle happened that everyone heard, wow, it's so cool, people are buying it for 10 quid. More people wanted to buy it. All these kids started going, oh yeah, no, I've got to have it. Parents were losing their minds because these kids wanted this stuff. And so the price went up. And this craze just kind of kept happening. And so all the time we see actually, this is useful. It's good to bear this in mind, but it breaks, and it breaks quite often. So that was my laptop. Let's have a little look at another way to do pricing. This again it's a bit wrong. I'm a bit rubbish when it comes to writing, so hopefully this animation stuff's going to work, and we'll have all the scribble on the board, and Mevin can see it properly. So we're going to have a look at something called cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing works really simply. It's how the accountants do pricing. When we gave up on the economists, we turned to somebody else and we went, oh, accountants seem good. And I should say they are good. You've got an accountant coming in this afternoon, pay attention to them, listen to them, they're very smart. And this is how an accountant has a think about your price. We're going to imagine I'm running a flower shop here. This is Richard's amazing florist. I'm going to simplify this and say that I've chanced upon this one design for this one bunch of flowers that everyone likes. So I've just got this one product, just to make life simple. And the accountant would say, okay, right, well, you've got to figure out how much to sell for this. Well, fortunately, I've been looking at your kind of wholesale orders and everything else, and I can figure out what it costs you to make this stuff. So, there's some flowers that cost sort of £6.50, you've got some wrapping, some food, you've got a card that goes in there, a bit of ribbon, and this bunch of flowers costs you, and stuff that you give to the customer every time, £9.25. So how much do you think I should charge for this bunch of flowers? Even if you can see why this is wrong, play along, have a guess. How much do you think I should charge? £12.50, nice. Oh, big spender. 25, Ben's been in trouble and had to buy flowers in the past. It's like tenner. Oh, but now it's feeling low because everyone else is going high. How about you? 15? Sure. Okay. Do you want to start?
I don't often buy flowers, but I do occasionally 30 quid.
30 quid. Yeah. There are men in this world, I've helped a few florists start businesses, there are men in this world that only buy flowers when it really matters, and they essentially walk in going, I need to spend this amount of money. I either need to impress her, or I need to get out of trouble, or I need some help, so I need this amount. And I go, this is a lovely bunch for less. And the person will go, no, you don't understand, I'm in trouble, I need to spend more. And this weird thing happens in florists. So let's have a little look at why this is sort of wrong. Let's scribble up some guesses. So we've got some guesses. Somebody did say 12, someone said 25, so that was good. Someone said 15, so my guessing was okay. Let's have a little look at what we missed out. If I shunt all this across, the accountant's going, yeah, I've only just started. You jumped the gun. There's all this other stuff. There's rent, there's business rates, there's utilities. For you freelancers, there's the drones, there's the laptops, there's the travel, there's the paint, there's all sorts of extra stuff. It's all these other costs. Well, somehow we've got to add that to that, right? If we don't add that to that, how do we know if our price is right? But the accountants go, don't worry, I've got your back. And so they have a little look at this, and they do some estimating. They call it projections, but it's estimating. They look back over past years and they go, look, I tell you what, let's say this thing works for 50 weeks of the year. This florist is open 50 weeks of the year. Each week you sell 100 bunch of flowers. I've done this just to make the maths really easy. You might need to get a calculator out. And that means you've got to add 10 quid every bunch of flowers to get to your actual cost. If you charge £9.25, you've got enough to pay for this. If you charge an extra 10 quid, you've got enough to contribute towards all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, as long as you charge £19.25 or more, you're good. So how much should we charge now? Anyone want to change the guess? I guess you were at 25. Yeah, you're going 25.
You've got the money to pay for the flowers and all the stuff that you've got, but you also need money to get.
Yeah, so I kind of shoved wages in, but you're right. Like, I mean, what? I need holidays, I need perks, I need a stormy, rainy day fund, stormy day fund. It's not called stormy days.
Rainy days.
Yeah, rainy day fund. So we need to add a bit, but how much to add? And one of the big questions I get asked on pricing is, yeah, what markup should I charge? That's the number one question I get asked. Is like, actually, what percentage? Is a third fair? Should I be doubling it? What should I do? There is no rule. Cost plus pricing gets you to this figure that's really important, because unless you sit down and figure it out, you can end up going, oh, 15 seems right, 15 seems like enough, and you end up losing money. You might as well have gone out into the street and gone, here's 3 quid. Oh, sorry, mate, I was going to start a business, but essentially my pricing was so low, I'm just giving you the money away. Here's 3 quid, you'd end up in the same place. So we've got to do this, but let's meet Carl. Carl, the customer, is over here. Carl, the customer, is the one that decides whether he's buying a bunch of flowers or not. Have you ever been into a shop and had them, and you've gone and picked something up and you've gone, oh, that looks a bit, come on.
I don't know what that was.
I've just relieved it's not mine. Oh, that looks a bit expensive.
Yeah.
And then the person in the shop goes, have you seen petrol prices lately? I'm going to start with cost of inflation, and they just put the rent up last week. It doesn't happen. If it does happen, you don't care. Has everyone got a smartphone? I know you've got a smartphone, right? So get your smartphone out, have a little look at it, and have a think. How much does it cost that company to make that phone? When you came to buy your phone, I used to be able to do this. I've got the latest iPhone, and then they kept rolling it forwards, and I don't, right? So I've got a 2-year-old iPhone. If I told you that the iPhone, this is the iPhone 13 Pro, so they've managed to do some research on it. They went back and looked at it. It cost me about 1,100 quid when I bought it 2 years ago. Why I spent that amount of money, who knows? But anyway, I did. It costs them £19.49 the costs to produce this. Sorry, that's not true. That's an absolute, like, that's for the chips and the silicon and stuff, but it doesn't include labour. So including labour and shipping and getting it over here and that sort of stuff, it's £146 to spend on this. Sorry, that's the lie as well, because you haven't included the shop, the marketing, the budget, everything else, all this other website, all this other stuff they've got to do with the company. If you include all of that into the cost of this, £725. That's a £400 markup, isn't it? That's scandalous. All of those numbers are lies. But I can see you all believing me. You're going, oh yeah, that sounds sensible. Oh yeah, that sounds sensible. Because you've never considered it. You've all bought these things. These ridiculously expensive things that are tethered to us all day, every single day. But we don't know how much it costs. And so the absolute worst way you can come up with a price and charge your customer that price is by figuring out the cost. Because they don't think about it. And if you try and tell them, they don't care. Look, it's a nice bunch of flowers, but I don't want to spend 26 quid. I don't care that you got a bad deal. I don't care that you gave your staff a pay rise. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. It's not my fault. I'm just the customer. So this, really important. You've got to do it, because if you don't do it, you can end up charging too little and you're losing money. You also have to completely ignore it because your customers don't.
Does the £400 markup come from the fact there's the same sort of situation with the prime drink?
I've no idea.
It's popular, people want it, they'll pay to save it.
I should say, I've no idea how much this costs. Okay. Like, it might be a £4 markup. Okay. It might be 40, like all of those numbers. I'm just saying them to see if you guys believe me. And you do, because you've never considered it. So, what we've got to do is we've got to get inside Carl's head. And we've got to try and figure out the way that Carl thinks about price. He's your customer, right? What's your customer willing to pay for a license? What's this big corporate willing to pay for the service that you're going to offer? And actually, lots of small businesses try and figure out their costs and then just add a bit on. But you could be missing out on a whole bunch of money. Maybe Carl, like Richard, thinks this bunch of flowers worth 30 quid. And you're going 25. You're missing out on 5 quid on every bunch of flowers. So you've got to do this. Most small businesses don't do it. I would say most of the businesses I work with, they get, I'd say about 80% can tell you, oh yeah, look, when I make this art, there's the canvas, and there's some oil, and there's some this, and then I wrap it up and I ship it, and they'll tell you that price. If I say, no, what does it really cost? What about your website? What about the cost of being at the exhibition? What about the cost of transport? People go, huh? What? I think you can get into like the top 10% of businesses on pricing if you just sit down and have an estimate, figure it out. There's a lot of guesswork that goes into it, but you'll be ahead of the game if you do that much. Then you've got to forget it and do something else. Now, I should just say, because we've got some people doing sort of freelancing type stuff. You guys are doing freelancing type stuff. I'm probably going through these flowers and you're kind of going, I don't really have a product. I don't really have this kind of these flowers and this ribbon and this other stuff. So how do I think about it? I should just tell you another way to look at it. It's basically the same way to look at it. I call it the fast way to price things. It's an acronym I came up with. Don't Google it and look up fast pricing. You'll find, I don't know, cars or fast women. But it's the freelancer's annual salary technique. Sounds like it should be in a book. I made it up. Other acronyms are available. You could go for the consultant's rough annual salary system if you want to. But essentially, this is a really quick, dirty way to try and get to a price if what you're selling is just time. So if all you're selling is time, let's have a look at how much time you've got. You've got 365 days of the year, right? But you've got to take off the weekends. You don't want to work the weekends. Or if you work the weekends, you want to have a Tuesday off, right? I mean, we don't want to be slaves to this business. So let's take off 104 days for weekends. Let's take off some bank holidays. We've had some bonus bank holidays this year, so I've rounded it up to 10. Let's take off our holiday. I mean, we want to go places. You want to be permanently going somewhere. I don't know. Does that mean you don't need a holiday anymore? What this is trying to tell me. If you're living nomadically on the beach in Spain, you don't need a holiday. But let's assume that we want a holiday. You get to 120 odd work days. So if you're charging by the day, then you can just time by your day rates, get your income for the year, and that's done. Kind of. Except a bit like the florists, we've missed a bunch of stuff out. There is time spent marketing, there's time spent meeting the client, having a free consultation, there's time giving them a quote, there's time agreeing the work. Then you finally get to actually do the work, then you have to invoice them, then you have to chase the payment, do the admin, do the accounts. If you're freelance, the amount of time you actually spend with the client compared to the amount of work that actually goes into getting that client to pay you for that time is a bit of a fraction. So what consultants tend to do as they see all this kind of, you've got to have a pointless gift somewhere in the presentation. Consultants have a few rules of thumb, and these are very rough rules of thumb, but if you're going freelance, 100 days a week, 100 days a week, that'd be good. 100 days a year is a good, like, small jobs kind of rate. So if someone says, oh, could you just come and do an afternoon's worth of work, or like, could you just do a day? Then essentially, you should spend a lot of time chasing that work, quoting that work, arranging that work, getting ready for that work, doing work, going away. You'll only do 100 days like that. If somebody comes to you and says, oh, actually, no, it's a bit of a project. Can you come and do like 2 weeks with me? Well, actually, it's the same amount of chasing to get the work, it's the same amount of quoting, it's the same amount of invoicing. So you'll probably squeeze in 150 days that way. And if somebody says to you, look, actually, I just want you for like 6 months, just like full-time, almost come and work for me, but you can do it under a freelance arrangement, then maybe you can get to 180 days that you'll actually work in a year. And so what people do is they go, well, how much am I worth? And most people can estimate that, right? You can look up a social media job in the kind of magazines, graduate social media experts, how much do they get paid? Well, they're getting paid about 40,000. Okay, well, if you want me for a small job, 40,000 divided by 100 gets to £400 a day. Seems about right. It's the kind of rule of thumb that people use. But again, this is basically just doing cost plus. This is just figuring out how much it's going to cost you, how many can you churn out, rather than thinking about it from the customer's viewpoint, how much do they want to pay. Okay, quick little tip if you are a freelancer and you are selling time, try to get away from it. If you get away from it, and there's all sorts of ways you can get away from it, but the best way I've seen is to productize what you do. So you don't sell, we never sell an incubator as being, oh, it's 2 business advisors for 1 day a week for 3 months. Because then people go, oh, how much are you earning? They don't times it by 100, they times it by 220, and they go, right, yeah, you're expensive. Way too much. Instead, turn it into a product. And you can turn a service into a product really easily by saying, graphic designers do it all the time, by saying, look, I'll provide you with 5 different versions, you'll get 3 different revisions on this, and they sell them a story. This is the product that you'll buy. And they get away from the time. Because unfortunately, customers do these equations. They go, oh, how much time is it going to take him? And then they try and time it up, and they think you're really expensive because they forget that currently you're talking to them for free. And you talked to them last week for free too, and you'll talk to them again for free. So there's a few different ways to do it, but does anyone else feel the need for a stretch of legs, cup of coffee, or do you want to power? Okay, so let's get on to, we've had a look at a few different ways. We've looked at the economists, right? And the economists had this kind of weird equation that basically told us there is something about, if you nudge your price up a little bit, you'll sell a few less. You nudge it down a little bit, you'll sell a few more. And there is this kind of thing going on. The accountant said, no, you've got to look inside your business at everything that it costs you, because otherwise you come out with these crazy prices, like 15 quid for flowers that really cost you 19 quid to make. Okay, so that's worth looking at, and we have to go away and do our homework on costing it. Now, I kind of glazed over, because there were a lot of numbers on the board, and I could feel that everyone else was glazing over too. Right. In those numbers, I glazed over the fact that I said, so I'm going to sell 5,000 bunches in the year. And when you start, you don't know. It's gotten to a place in my business now, I've been running it for 12 years, I know how many I'm going to sell next year, give or take a bit. But I'm pretty confident on how many I'm going to sell each year. Because I know who my clients are, I know who I'm starting to talk to, and you get better and better at this. But when you first get started, how many pieces of art am I going to sell? How many people are going to buy my drone thing? How many social media clients am I going to have? How many licenses might I issue? And that's really hard. What I would say is, at the moment that you make that guess, you are learning something. and make that guess to be not too ambitious. Make that guess to be a number that you go, actually, this ought to make sense. If you if you guess that you're going to sell one bunch of flowers, you have to sell that bunch of flowers for £50,000, plus the 925, but that doesn't seem important anymore, right? You have to sell it for loads. You sell 2 bunches of flowers, it's 25,000. Somehow you've got to make that guess. If you're too pessimistic, then you'll end up coming up with a price that's way too high. If you're too optimistic, and lots of startups do this, they say, actually, I'm going to sell hundreds of these things. I'm going to sell thousands of these things. If you're too optimistic, you end up with a price that's too low. In reality, the accountant will tell you, well, it's just a projection. They call it a projection because it sounds fancier than a guess. The way it works, if you've ever worked with any business consultants, they start off with guess, that's what you do. Then you talk to me, you have an estimate. Then I go away, I look at some numbers, and we come up with a projection. It's all the same guess. It's the nature of starting a business. So, yeah, when you get to it, when you go back and you go, actually, I've got to make this guess, you'll get to that point and you go, I have no idea. Just get comfortable with having a guess. Make a few of them and see what it does. Actually, if you sell 100, what does that do to the price? If you sell 2,000, what does that do to the price? And go with your gut. Go with what you think is right. Okay, let's get into Carl's head. He was the guy looking in at these flowers. He was possibly in trouble. He was possibly in love, one of the two, maybe both. And what we need to do is we need to leave all these numbers behind. We need to get into a bit of psychology. You might already know this because you worked in this place full of psychology. So let's get inside our customers' heads. I want you to imagine that I'm not such a bad guy, and we decide to go out for a meal. I can see a frown at the back of the room. So scrap that. Imagine you're on a second date. If you're in a happy relationship, I'm really sorry it didn't work out. We fast forwarded a little bit, and you're now on a second date. Sorry about that. It's a bit heartbreaking. But imagine you're on a second date. You go out for this meal. It's not with me, I'll stress. It's not a chat line. You go out on this meal. And the first day went pretty well, and you seem to be into each other, but you're kind of like, you're feeling a bit comfortable. You're like, you don't need to kind of impress too much. And she goes, oh, I never know what wine to choose. Can you just choose the wine? And he then hands you a wine list. You look down that wine list, and in your own heads, don't say out loud, I'd like you to pick a wine. Now you look at this wine list, and you don't recognize any of the wine. You don't recognize where it comes from, you don't recognize the brand, you don't recognize the grapes, none of it. I mean, if you're like me, this is every single time you go into a restaurant. You look down the list, you go, I don't know. But there's some wines at £18. There's some wines at 26, and there's some wines up at 37. I should stress, you don't know whether they're paying, or you're doing the kind of Dutch thing of sharing the bill. You're not sure yet. Okay, everyone picked a wine? Cool, great. You had a great bottle of wine. You did really well. You had a really nice night. You get to a third date. Go you. So you're having this third date, and they go, oh, you tried a perfect bottle of wine last time. Could you do it again? Now there's 2 wines. Again, you don't recognize any of the wine. Do you go for the 27.51? Or do you go for the 19? Now,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah, no.
I would for the lower one.
The lower one. Now, some people are going, I don't understand, what's he crowding on about? Because I go for the lower one here, I go for the lower one there. But some people, they're looking a bit skeptically, or they did a moment. They went for this one at £26. Right? Statistically, quite a lot of you will have gone for this bottle of wine. And here, you went for this bottle of wine. But if you look at them, they're basically the same choice. Like, it's not like you've got, oh, I've got a £27 limit on wine. I only go up to £27 limit, never a penny more. As soon as you go over £27, it's a rip-off. No, this is £26, right? £26, £27.50, it's the same. £18, £19.50, it's the same, right? So what went on? This bottle of, did anyone choose this bottle of wine? Big spender. I like it. There's always one big spender if you get enough people. Most people weren't even considering this. I did do this to a bunch of students before, and they said, next time you do this, can you change it to Tequila Slammers or something? So, I might be doing this to the wrong room. But a huge swathe of people would have chosen this one and switched. When I do this with rooms of about 100 on the line, I get something like 60 people switching, because I can do it with an anonymous poll and see exactly who's switching. And I get somewhere around 60, sometimes more, 70% switching. But it's not because of this wine, in theory, because hardly anyone chose this wine. There's only one person going, why have you taken away my wine? Everyone else was only ever choosing between these two. But by putting in that extra one, a bunch of people went from here to here. Now that is really powerful, and that is something that all of us need to start using in business. What's going on here is something called price anchoring, or anchoring. Has anyone heard of anchoring before? So price anchoring works like this. We all learn to count on a number line. So we all start off, you'll probably this way, aren't you? So you all would probably start 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going, and then millions. Right? That's how people are taught to count. China and other places, it's the other way. Arabic countries, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, so they read right to left, they go along the number line, and then millions. And we all learn that numbers are on this line. And what I did by saying, oh, you're choosing between 19 and 37, as I gave you a line this big. So being in the middle seemed okay. When I suddenly shortened the line, it's like I jumped you up to here. So this has been proven to work quite frequently and quite powerfully. They've done all sorts of different things. For instance, they've told people, you've had people walk into a room and they've given them a number, and they've said, this number is a red herring. This number is not intended to be linked to the next question. But did you know that David Beckham earned £1.2 million yesterday without getting out of it?
我係 Conrad 啊，你係咪 Max 啊？Max 你好啊，我收到總部嘅同事啊 Philip 講咪話俾我聽咧 ，online 收到個意見咧話咧想呢個 agent list 嗰度咧有人有簡體字啊，你有邊個同事收呢個嘢翻嚟啊？
That's right. So they say, look, David Beckham earns £1.2 million. And everyone jumps up to this point on the number line. And then they say, oh, could you guess the price of this pen?
我冇印象有啲間，但係就唔知點解總部同事。
Can you turn your mic off, please?
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hi, Conrad, can you just turn your mic off, please? Thank you.
So what happens is people start walking down this number line, but it's like they've got an anchor and they're dragging it along. And when they guess the price for this pen, it's higher than if they say, look, do you remember chomp bars? Anyone know chomp bars, little curly bars? They're like these cheap, kids buy them, they're this big, they're like 10p, they're like really, really cheap. And those like little 1 penny sweets that you get. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with this. How much for the pen? Again, the people that anchor those cheap chocolate bars, and they're dragging this anchor up the line to guess the price of the pen. So you can use this sort of nefariously if you want to. If you're ever selling art, talk about Damien Hirst's last piece or Tracy Emin's last piece. £9.8 million for a piece of, for a bed. She didn't even make it. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with this. Don't worry, I'm not going to charge you £9.8 million. But the anchor's there. And you see this sort of happening all the time. The number of places, once you start paying attention for this, you see an option that you go, who ever buys that? Starbucks do this, they have a bucket size. They don't call it the bucket size, it's the grande, tall, whatever. But it's ridiculous, it's huge. And you go, who buys that? There's probably no one buying that. There might be one or two big spenders. In every room, there might be a tiny odd big spender. But it's not really there to be sold. It's there because it lets some people just move up the line a little bit. So for your social media, have a silver, bronze, silver, gold. That's how the Olympics work. Yeah, bronze, silver, gold. The gold, if you want to sell it, needs a platinum. Right? If you actually want people to buy this one, go even further. And it doesn't matter if that price doesn't seem to make sense. If it seems way too much, way too high, it doesn't matter. Louis Vuitton do this. I mean, we probably all shop Louis Vuitton. You know, yes. Trip down to London, it's only 2 hours, straight into the heart of town, into Louis Vuitton, flagship store. This is what you see. See this wonderful display. And here is the Louis Vuitton display, and there's a traveler's chest. This traveler's chest in this glass cabinet here, 244 pounds. I think the people in the store wouldn't know how to sell it if you actually said, yeah, no, I want that one. They would go, this, you actually want to buy this? Nobody buys this. It's not there for you to buy it. It's there for you to walk straight in and go, I shouldn't be in this store. This is expensive. You walk on and you'll find this. It's a glass cabinet, illuminated, and it'll have celebrities' handbags in it. It will be, and excuse me because I'm getting old, Lady Gaga, Britney Spears, people from 10 decades ago, because I don't think it's famous these days. It'll be their handbags. And they'll be saying, oh, this one, £19,000 worn on this date. This one, £16,000 worn on this date. They're not there to be sold, but it's anchors. You keep going. You're on to this year's range, and it's, oh, God, look at that. Oh, that looks, I mean, that's not in glass. Maybe I can afford that. You go to pick it up, it's £7,000. Oh, maybe I can't afford that. You keep going. Oh, look, that's last year's range. It's £5,000 down to £3,000. £3,000 still quite a lot. Haven't had my loan in yet. Keep going on to the back. You find belts, you find keyrings for 25 quid, 50 quid. Louis Vuitton, Calvin Klein, where are they making all their money? Selling cheap little things for a lot of money because they're using all of these anchors. If you don't want to go down to London, you don't need to go to London. You can go to their website to find exactly the same thing. I've got one pair of white trainers. One day I'm going to have lots of white trainers, and I'm going to put them in a £144,000 traveller's chest.
What was that, just for the chest? I thought it was sushi.
No, just for the suitcase. It's crazy, right?
They call it a lifestyle trunk. A lot of ladies want to so that we think it's all that.
But it's not available. It's here on the website, front and centre. You can't actually buy it. I mean, you could get rid of that, right? These days, modern technology, you don't need to show me something I can't buy. What about this one? No, this one I can't buy. It's £34,000. I mean, it's a bit more reasonable, I guess. £37,000 for something I can't buy. They're trying to sell this. That's what they're trying to sell, but they're doing it by showing us a whole bunch of things that we can't have because they're all anchors. It's so powerful that even if you tell somebody you're doing it to them, it still works. So, if it always works, one takeaway tip, absolutely use this in your business. Always start high. If you end up with a, we'll get it right this time, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, don't start at bronze. That's giving them an anchor. After that, every other price you mention seems expensive. Start at platinum. Anchor. Now, every other price that you mention seems a bit cheaper. Double glazing salespeople do this all the time. If you ever get a quote for double glazing in your house, be prepared to fall off your seats. Invite them in, put some cushions to the side. Because they will come in and they'll say, oh, the whole house is nice mahogany wood. Oh, it'll cost you about 250,000. They're not trying to sell it. They're just trying to give you an anchor so that they can drop the price, drop the price, drop the price. The whole time moving you down the number line, you go, wow, this is so much further down here than where I started. It's cheap down here now. So always start high, because like I say, you can't switch it off, so you might as well have it work for you rather than against you. I am rubbish at applying this myself. You go into the meeting, you get nervous, you go, oh, I really want to work with the university, they're lovely, they've got this nice lovely room, I don't want to scare them off, and you go, oh, I could probably do it for cheap. And then you told them you could do it for cheap. You can't tell them you can do it for expensive after that. They go, oh, well, that'd be great, thanks. So always try and start high. Let's have a little talk about value. Because at this point, you're probably going, isn't there like some true value to things? Isn't there actually like some, you know, things are worth stuff, right? Like isn't there a value to something that we get to? Hunting for when we're searching for the best price, aren't we? We're searching for that mythical thing that is genuinely worth. Well, let's have a bit of a game. This is a Diamondback Outback mountain bike. It's got those suspension things on the front. It's black, 26-inch, 21 gears, Vectra hydrofoil, dual Pro Max mechanical disc brakes. Don't know what any of that means, but it's all they told me on the website when I looked it up, and on the little tag underneath it was the same. How much do you think it costs? I'd like everyone just to, like, if you've got a pen and piece of paper, write it down, but just mentally think through how much do you reckon it costs. We'll see how close you are. Bit of added information for you. You know Cycle Heaven? Yeah, just by the station. They've got quite. They've got. This is their other shop, but this was in the train station. Everyone got a price? Okay. Interestingly, I reckon your guesses are all over the place. Let's see if I'm right. How much was your guess for the bike? 500? That's a pretty good stat. Yeah.
I was going to say 1,000.
I'm going to say, yeah, 1,000. That seems fair. I mean, it's twice hers, but yeah.
8,500.
8,500.
Yeah.
Whoa! I'm going to go cycling with you.
That's the same thing, actually.
Yeah, 8 grand.
Quite expensive.
Wow. 4,000. Okay. 300. Oh, I thought the big wine spender would go even further. What?
800.
800. Okay. All right. Interestingly, I'm lying to you. I didn't look it up at the Cycle Heaven shop. So let's see if I narrow it down and tell you the truth. I looked it up on Argos. So does anyone want to change their guess? If you do want to change your guess, that's interesting, right? Because I haven't changed the bike. I've just changed the place that's selling it. I haven't told you, oh, there's no mechanical disc brakes now, there's none of this or there's none of that. And yeah, bikes are confusing. They could be all kind of different prices, but anyone want to see if they can get the right price? No one's got it yet.
Who's the closest?
Nah. 80. 80, you got 80 pounds?
I'll say it's like 1,500.
1,500.
That's about 2 grand.
2 grand?
I'm going to stay with what I said.
Stay with what you said.
Even though it's the news to drop there.
£1,000. Okay, cool.
350.
350 in the back. Cool. Online in the back. Sorry, Mervyn. Should have asked you earlier. Yeah. Okay. It's interesting that, right? If you were changing your price, if you suddenly went, oh, you've conned me there by telling me it's Cycle Heaven, and now you're telling me it's here. I didn't change the product. What I changed was what's wrapped around the product. So, I do this really to prove that there is no true value. The way that the psychologists did this is they went around supermarkets and they asked people, oh, I can see you've been shopping for a little while, you've got sort of 20 things in your basket now. Do you mind, I'm doing some research, could you tell me the price of the things that are in your basket? Now these people have literally just kind of wandered up to the shelf and oh, this one, that one. Oh, so that's got an offer on that, I'll take that. Put it in the basket, right? We are minutes after that. And they said to them, can you make a guess? And their guesses were all over the shop. You know, like wildly out, 50% out, 150% out, like all over the place. There were about 4 or 5 things that people knew the price of. People can get within 10, 15% of the actual price. Which is crazy, right? We're all buying things, and we're literally about to make this decision to buy it, or we've made the decision to buy it, we're about to part with the money, and in that gap in between, we've forgotten what it costs. We don't know. And these are things that you buy every week, right? The 4 things that people remember are things that people have bought the same, and supermarkets use them as their loss leaders. So they're like bread, used to be the newspaper, it's the milk, it's the carton of eggs. And that's why the dairy farmers are going out of business, because the supermarket's like, no, you've got to keep the price down on that. It's one of the ones they know. There's only 4 things they know. We can mess around with all the other prices as long as we keep these 4 the same. So does anyone know what social media should cost? No way. Drone photography, not a clue. Art, I mean, if we ever get there, we'll be happy, right? People have no idea how much any of this stuff is supposed to cost. And they don't agree. Ask a room full of people, you get guesses from 8.5 grams to 80 quid for a bite. So, well, let's have a little look. I did say in my preview, I would help people to be able to price a cookie. So I've got 2 bags here, and in the bags, sorry, man, I'm going to get to see the bag. In the bags, I'll plonk it on this desk. I've got 2 different types of cookie. So we're a bit of a small room, so I probably won't do statistical analysis on this. But I'd like the front row, go and have a look at the cookies from the Norwich Wine Market bag, and the back row, come have a look at this bunch of cookies. And I'd like you to guess the price for, don't show the others, guess the price for 1 cookie.
Really should taste test to make sure.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Make your guess first.
I agree.
And then, as long as you've made your guess, bring the cookies back and have a taste test. I don't want to take them home.
I didn't want to go.
Definitely the cookies.
They're the best bits.
Cool. Okay, what guesses do we have to the value of these things? Actually, before you guess, anyone else want a cookie? Have a cookie. Okay, before you guess, I'm going to tell you what the actual price is. And I'm going to say the actual price is the last 2 digits of your phone number. Everyone got the last 2 digits of their phone number? Times it by 2. Add 2p. I'm just a sucker for those Facebook memes. You know, where it's like, oh, can you figure out the maths and the numbers? Which ones are correct? Right? Everyone got that number? That is the number. Let me give you an example. So, if the last 2 numbers of my phone number are 50, times by 2 is 100. Add 2p, 102p. The price of that cookie for me would be £1. Would you buy it for that price?
So is that the cheaper one or the more expensive one?
So that's the price of your cookie. Oh, that's interesting. That's the more expensive one.
Well, based on what you told me.
Yeah. So I won't try and figure out the maths. I won't actually even ask you for your guesses. Actually, no, let's figure it out. I've never done it with a group this small. I suspect it won't work because we're too small a group for the stats to work. But what did you get? 250.
Same.
Yeah, you came to an agreed £2, 250, you guys?
135.
135. Oh, so it sort of worked. Okay, so this is a very old experiment. This dates back to like the 70s or something. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. So if you want to go and look it up, it's 75 they did this experiment. They did it with quite a lot of people. And actually what they did is they took people into separate rooms and they showed people cookies in a jar where there were lots of them. And cookies in a jar where there were just one or two. And they rerun this every kind of 10 years. Somebody goes, I'm not sure it's true, and they rerun it and they get the same result. Where there's lots in the jar, people say that a cookie is worth less. Where there's only a few, they go, oh no, the cookie's worth more. It's called scarcity, right? There's less of it. So if it's scarce, then it's probably more valuable, like gold and diamonds and other bits and pieces. So one of the big things that I see artists get wrong when they go to art fairs is they show all of their art. And they put it out on a fair, kind of craft fair kind of thing. And you go up to their display and there's lots of it. I went to an open gallery recently and she does great art. I bought a piece. She had it all over the place. And as soon as I bought the piece, she went and replaced it with another very similar piece. And I thought, this isn't how you sell art for a lot, right? If you want to sell art for a lot, you go into a white room. Just one piece. Maybe one other piece. Oh, wow, that's not very expensive. But right down to cookies, it's the same. Right down to absolutely everything you're doing. Look, if you're freelance, look busier than you are. Never say, oh, I can do any day next week. Well, if you can do any day next week, there's lots of your time available, right? So, always have something in the diary, right? Never be the guy that's desperate. Always go, it's the same as dating, right? They say, oh, so you want to go out for a drink? They go, yeah, no, I'm free, I've got nothing in my social diary for the next year. You go, oh yeah, no, I have to put you in next Thursday. Yeah. Same thing with this. If you want to price more, appear more scarce. So what was all this thing I was doing with this, this number over here? This is where they originally found the rule of anchoring. Because by taking a random number, and they asked people the price of a cookie, and the price of the trackpad and a bunch of other stuff in the original experiment, expensive wine, that's why one bag is the Norwich Wine Week. We're going to bring a bottle of wine and actually auction it. And my business partner said, you can't sell wine before 12 in a university. I thought it'd be cool.
That's 11.
Yeah. So they did this experiment a bunch of times, right? Now the number that, your phone number, times 2, plus 2, was just another way of me giving you an anchor. Which do you think would be most impactful? The idea that it's scarce? The idea that I've given you a phone number?
Scarcity.
Interestingly, the other way.
Oh.
People with a high phone number guessed 345% higher, like 3.5 times higher for the cookie. With the scarcity, they were guessing like 1.5 to 2 times higher. Which is weird, right? So that thing that I was saying before, really important. The scarcity thing, that falls into something called framing. It's great we've got an artist in the room, they know all about framing. Framing involves all sorts of stuff. Another experiment they did was they took a brownie. Couldn't find a brownie this morning, so there wasn't brownies to go around, I'm afraid. Stuck with the cookies. They asked people the price of it, and they asked half the group the price when it was on a serviette. A bunch of people guessed the price. They asked another group of people with it on a plate, with a silver fork. Obviously, right? Seems obvious that the price would be higher on a plate with a silver fork. There is so much that goes into framing when it comes up to your price, and it is something that small businesses really often overlook. if you're selling art at the market in the centre of town, you're not going to be able to charge as much as if you're in the gallery next to the castle. Yeah? It's where you put it frames all sorts around it. Your guesses for the price of these cookies were probably influenced by me talking about buying expensive computers and expensive phones earlier, right? Oh, this guy's talking about expensive stuff, right? So he spends on business, he probably didn't cheap us out on cookies, he probably spent it. If I come in, say, oh no, really old 6-year-old broken down computer, broken down this, broken down that, that would have influenced it too. I think one of the big reasons that Macs do so well with graphic designers is because you walk into a meeting, get out your Mac, and they go, oh, this guy's serious. He's got a Mac. Could be a 10-year-old Mac, they don't know, but oh, he spends. So he must be good at his job. It's all just framing that goes towards this thing. Same was true for the wine. When they ran the experiment, people guessed massively higher for wine. I'm going to do one last thing on this. Do you think, and this is an obvious answer to this, the way I've set it up, but do you think wine that is more expensive tastes better? No. Do you think wine that is more expensive tastes better just because you're told it tastes better?
Possibly.
Just because you're told, would the wine taste better if you were just told this one is more expensive? How easily led are they? They put people in MRI scanners, and they've done this for wine and chocolate, and they're starting to try and figure out why. They've gone, right, you're pretty impervious, you know what you like, what you don't like. We're going to give you 4 different wines. They're going to vary in price, and we're going to see how much your brain enjoys them or doesn't enjoy them. We're going to check that by asking how much you enjoy it or don't enjoy it. Spoiler alert, all the wine was the same wine. They changed the price, they gave them a flavour in between so that they were kind of nulled to it, so they thought they were tasting a new wine. People not only said, oh yeah, no, the expensive wine was nicer, they actually enjoyed it more. They could see the endorphins and the enjoyment and the dopamines in their brain. People genuinely thought it was better. So does expensive wine taste better? Yes, if you believe it does. So that's weird, right? There is no true value, but even just by telling you, oh, these cookies were really expensive. Oh, I got them, they were handmade, hand-produced, blah, blah, blah. You would expect them to taste better. And then your brain will actually tell you it's better as you're starting to eat it. So you pick up on the flavours that you like most, and you will enjoy it more than if it was cheaper. Which is really weird. Are you doing your art buying customer a service by saying it's cheap art? They would enjoy it more if it was more expensive art. Same for wine, same for chocolate, same for everything, right? We are trained to expect a certain thing and then kid ourselves that that's what's happening. So how do we actually get to a price, right? Because essentially I've just spoken for about 2 hours about price. Just make it up. You can con people, you can tell them this price, you can tell them that price. It's really hard. What I would say is have a think about how people actually shop. And I had this realization in the supermarket. I went to a supermarket, I was tasked with buying olive oil. Now, I've been with my partner for quite a long time. I've learned what we have to buy fair trade, what we don't buy fair trade, which cereal she likes, which cookies she likes. You know, I get most of the weekly shop right. I get to the olive oil shelf and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't buy that often. And so I also went to pick one up. And then for some reason I just sort of went, oh, I don't know actually. Maybe I should take this one. However, one of those freaky moments where you look down the street and you see you catch someone's eye. And the reason I caught her eye is because she was about 60, but she was doing the same thing. We were like this really bad slow motion aerobics class of kind of going. She had an excuse for being that slow. She was 60. Me, I had no excuse. But we were kind of going, oh, I don't know, maybe this one, oh, maybe that one. We weren't going up to the expensive stuff. That's always on the top shelf, right? The little tiny jars with it's infused and this, that. It costs a fortune. It's up there. We weren't going there or there to the giant vats. You know, the great big massive vats of the stuff that's like cheap, but you've got to buy 10 litres of it. What do people do with that control? No idea. Anyway, no one's going, oh, this one or that one. People are going, oh, this one or this one. People put everything they buy into segments, even if those segments don't exist. They go and mentally put them on the shelf. Oh, there's an expensive shelf up here. Then there's like an above average shelf, then a below average shelf, then a cheap shelf. And people do this because making decisions is hard. And we don't want to have to consider everything. So people put things into shelves. And the weird thing is, people decide what shelf they want to buy on before they know the price. So like, you might have done the research already, but if you haven't done the research on the drone, you've probably made up your mind in your gut whether you're buying the cheapest available drone, whether, no, just above cheap will do to get me going, or, no, this is a business. I've got to get something pretty good, but I can't afford the super duper, right? You'll have picked your shelf before you know what the price on those shelves are. We do it all the time. If I ask you, I don't know, how much do you spend on trainers? Are you way up at the expensive end? Way down at the cheap end? You know, even though we forget the price of all these things. Same for computers, same for phones, same for all sorts of things. People very instinctively go, actually, this is my shelf. This is what I want to buy. And then they go out and look at what's around, and what the price on that shelf is. I had to buy a computer for my business partner, and I decided, I always buy him here, and I thought, oh, we're all online now. I'm going to buy him the next shelf up. Then I went out and looked and fell off my chair. I was nearly sick. It was all way more expensive than I'd remembered. It had been a while since I'd bought a computer that wasn't a Mac, and I went, oh, that's a lot of money. But I carried on. I still bought him that computer for several £100 more than I'd anticipated because I'd decided on that shelf. So you can use this, right? Have a think about your businesses. Where are you pitching yourself, quality-wise? With all of your framing, with all your packaging, are you selling on the market? Are you selling in the gallery? Do you have a big shiny office? Can you turn up in a smart suit? Do you have, all those framing things around it? But also the quality. Is the cookie any good? Like, how good are you? How good is it?
How do you frame if it's like a service, like a digital product rather than a physical marketplace? So everything you had said was more around physical product.
So the same thing happens in lots of ways. Arguably, when you turn up, so I turned up doing my paddleboard shopping last night. I failed paddleboard shopping. I turned up at a website a friend had recommended. He's been doing silly paddleboarding things for a while. I don't get it. There's no way he's doing it. But anyway, he said, check these people out. I went and checked them out. Loaded up the website. The first thing I saw was a young, pretty couple, 10, 20 years younger than me, with these paddle boards on a yacht on the Bahamas with a video roll. Like, all of that is framing. Rich people use this. Snazzy people have this. Ooh, do you know what? Those paddle boards were overpriced. They were expensive. I'd just come from the cheap shops. I had a whole bunch of cheap anchors, the cheap website, where the framing there was all big slashed prices. There were very big sales banners above the top. And all of that is framing. Look, we're the cheap place. We're this shelf, because you turn up and the first thing you see is the sales page. Any website where the first thing you see is the sales page is probably saying, don't worry, it's cheap down here. Louis Vuitton and most high street stores, the sales rail's at the back. Yeah? You can tell whether it's a high-end brand or a low-end brand, or whether the sales rail is at the back. The sales rail's at the back. They're saying, look, here's all our expensive stuff. We're an expensive store. Here's the virtual version is, here's us on a yacht with our paddleboard. And then at the back is the cheap stuff. And you can do the same with the website. It's just what all the people see. So once you kind of picked your shelf, decided where you're going to be, just go do a bit of market research. Have a look at everybody else who's pricing everything else, and try and put them into shelves. Another big mistake small businesses make is you try and compete with everybody. If they're on the top shelf, forget about them. If that's not your shelf, they are not in your bracket. I don't think you were going to price your art on the basis of Tracy Emin or any of the top super. Maybe you were. Maybe you're that famous. Sorry, I haven't checked out your Insta. Maybe you've got 1 million views. But most of you already know. Actually, I'm going to ignore those people up there. I'm going to ignore those people down there. But then somehow when people get to actually put a price on it, they go, oh yeah, but the big company's charging this, so I can charge this. Can't unless you have the rest of the frame with it. If you're virtual, you can take it. Okay. Finish it off with some of the games that businesses can play. There's lots of different games that businesses can play. And we've probably all seen them. We all go to the supermarket, and the supermarket are the masters of games. You know when I said they've discovered that in the supermarket, people couldn't remember how much they were paying for the things they were about to buy? The follow-on from that was they went and studied the price that supermarkets were charging, and they discovered that supermarkets had been conning us for years. This all happened about 15 years ago, and they realized that the supermarkets for ages had been putting the price of things up for about a minute, and then discounting them down to a higher price than they were last week. People were seeing that big third off and putting it in the basket, thinking it was a bargain. The supermarkets were effectively conning us all, and that's why the EU passed the rules. Now you see on the labels it says it was this price on this date, and they have to show you the date. That's because before that, the supermarkets were absolute cowboys. And they were telling you, oh, look, this is 20% off. It's like, it's more than it was last week. But people were buying it. Yeah. Genius, now illegal. But yes,
but
genius.
it's like, obviously it's wrong, but like, it's really.
Feels so right.
Yeah.
It feels so well, wrong, but it feels so good. Tell people there's a discount and they all buy it. So if you do want to have if you do want to refresh on the pricing games, just walk around the supermarket. You'll see all the games that they're playing, there are lots and lots of different ways that once you set a price, you can discount, and those games can really move your customers towards doing what you want them to do. So I guess wrapping up, my final bit of advice is when you go out there and you have a look at that shelf. You go, actually, I'm not in this top bracket, they're all charging a fortune. I'm not in this bottom bracket, they're all way, way too cheap. I'm in this bracket here, I'm in this shelf. Price yourself to be the most expensive on that shelf. Don't do what Joseph, do you remember the photographer right back at the start did? He said, I'm 400 quid, I'm on this shelf, but you can get me today for 30 quid, I'm on that shelf. People went, nah. That's too much of a discount. But a discount within the shelf, that's fine. That is probably what made me go from that one to, oh, that was a bit of a deal. Maybe I'll get that one. When you discount, that you play with your customers, but be obvious about the game that you're playing. So don't do that. This sounds good. Don't do the illegal thing. But it is a game, but customers want to know the rules. If it's a game, it's very important that it has rules. Otherwise it's not fair, right? So set up the rules. We've all played the game where we're ordering something online and it's free delivery if you go over £40. You get that basket to be £41.20 and you go, quids in. I got that thing I sorted me, don't need it quite yet, but I got my free delivery, basically didn't cost me anything. You go, yeah, nailed it, I won. Well, yeah, you did. You won the game, but so did the business. Business got you to spend a little bit more. And that was more important to them than that little bit of literature. And you can do this in lots of different ways, but too often small businesses go, I need sales, I just put a discount. And that doesn't really work. It works a bit, but you're trying to build loyalty, reward people, give them the discount when they're loyal. It's amazing how many people don't realize this Cafe Nero card, 10th cup free, is exactly the same as a 10% discount. Or would you walk past Starbucks to Nero for a 10% discount? No, you just grab the 10% discount when it's there and then wander off and, oh, Starbucks has got a 10% discount for half of the day. But they're giving you that discount only if you log in. So if you're trying to get customers to come back, give them discount incentives to come back. The subscription thing is great. That's this on steroids. That's just lock them in forever on the basis, on that retainer, on the basis if you're really loyal, it's cheaper. If you are trying to get people to do things, to try things, make a first purchase, tell them it's an introductory offer, tell them I'm new, I'm launching, it's a new product, I want your feedback, I need your reviews, give them the discount and you will be surprised how much people go, oh yeah, get to try something new. If you just whack the discount on, people go, oh, maybe I will, maybe the offer will be here next week. If something goes wrong, the whoopsie aisle, I think my girlfriend loves the whoopsie aisle. She got into it at university and the first way she goes in the supermarket, just like straight to the damaged thing, everything in our cupboards has got little bits missing from it because she's straight to that thing. That's good. Wax it into the thing. So if something goes wrong, yeah, discount. If you all, say to Richard after this, that's lousy, really, honestly, 2 hours that guy. Then, next time round, I'll go, I'll try better, Richard, but how about a discount? Don't do that, I've got to pay the rent. But yeah, if something goes wrong, I discount it. If you're trying to sell lots of something, again, discount it. Buy one, get one free is probably a bit generous. But discount it to people who buy a lot. Now, I find that freelancers often miss this out. When you're getting going, you've got a lot of time. You've got a lot of days. And what you need is a lot of customers and people to buy big projects. So I'd really incentivize you, if you've got a free up to calendar, and this might apply to you too, but create your discounts so that, okay, cool, well, if you big projects, they're cheaper because they've got lots of time. Or if you bring me new clients, refer a friend or buying a group, then it's cheaper. Because what you're trying to do is sell lots and lots of time. And that's what leads to refer a friend, and that can work really well with small businesses. Want people to book early? Give them a discount to book early. It gets really obvious, right? I mean, none of this seems like rocket science to finish off the session with. It all seems really, really obvious. And it should be. So have a think, what are you trying to get your customers to do and be obvious with them so that they can play the game and go, yes, I won. I did the thing I didn't mind doing and I got the discount. Now, I don't think this applies to everyone here because I think everyone here is selling to the end customer. But I should just say that everything that I've talked about is all about setting your retail price. If you were ever to go into then selling to distributors, supermarkets, other people like that, then there's a different set of rules that apply about what percentage can they get out of that sale. So everything I've talked about is all about setting retail price, which includes business to business, like what your corporates will pay. If you've got someone who's going to buy your thing and then sell it on, they want you to have done this homework, and then it gets into actually what percentage can I get. Art galleries are scandalous. Art galleries take 50 to 60% of an artist's as art commission. It's huge. But they do an awful lot of framing. And they do an awful lot of wrapping that product up and saying, this art is now worth a lot of money because we put it in this fancy gallery. So that's all, folks. That's the end of it. It's like I say, I get a bit excited about pricing, so I talk a bit too long on it. If you've got any questions, then fire away. But otherwise, I'll Michelle?
Thank you.